The regular meeting of the Mishawaka Common Council for Monday, July 28th, 2025 will please come to order. Good evening. Those of you who are in attendance tonight, welcome. If you would, please take a minute to check your cell phone to make sure that you have placed it on silent or vibrate. And for those participating remotely, we welcome you as well. Members of the public are asked to place their microphone on mute during the meeting. At the appropriate point in the public meeting, I will invite the public to unmute their microphone for purposes of submitting any comments that they may wish to make, one person at a time. All persons wishing to make public comments will be asked to first state their name and address for the record, and after completing the comment, members of the public are once again asked to place their microphone on mute, and we thank all of you for your cooperation with us this evening. With that, if you would, please join us in rising for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Mrs. Hazen?
Here.
Mrs. Volker? Mr. Carroll? Mr. Benicki?
Here.
Mr. Emmons?
Here.
Ms. Hahn?
Here.
Mr. Mamalenti?
Here.
Mr. Violi?
Here.
Mr. Hixenbaugh?
Here. Approval of the minutes of our regular meeting of July 7th, 2025. Are there any additions or corrections? Then hearing none, the minutes will stand approved as received from the clerk's office. Petitions, communications, remonstrance, and memorial.
Yes, Mr. President, we have appeal number 2025-25. This is to the honorable member of the Common Council, City of Mishawaka, Indiana. This is a use variance to allow outside storage and developmental variance for rear yard setback, paving, fencing, and landscaping at 811 and 815 McKinley Avenue. This is signed by Clint Williams. We have petition number 2025-10 to the honorable members of the Common Council, City of Mishawaka, Indiana. This is a petition for vacation of public right-of-way due to a realignment, Ballard Street, south of Vistula. This is signed by Ken Prince with the City of Mishawaka and Kenneth Kalenbeck with the School City of Mishawaka. We have a letter from the City Plan Commission regarding their recommendations from their July 8th, 2025 meeting. Honorable members, a regular meeting of the Mishawaka Plan Commission was held on the above reference date, at which time the following petitions were considered. Petition number 2025-7, a request submitted by Michael and Carrie Green requesting to rezone 303 West 6th Street and vacant lot to the south from C1 General Commercial to R1 Single Family Residential. The Commission, with a vote of 7-0, recommended approval. Petition number 2025-08, a request submitted by Angela Richardson requesting to rezone 3418 York Street from I-2 Heavy Industrial to R1 Single Family Residential. The Commission, with a vote of 7-0, recommended approval. Petition number 2025-09, a request submitted by Mish RE LLC requesting to amend the Northwest Cleveland Road and Capital Planned Unit Development to allow for a reduction in landscaping, building and pavement setbacks, and planting areas widths along internal drives at 14233 and 14325 Cleveland Road. The Commission, with a vote of 7-0, recommended approval. This is signed by Donna Witt, Administrative Planner.
Thank you. This evening, we have no report of any special committee, so we'll move into ordinances on first reading.
Proposed ordinance number 2025-16, an ordinance amending Chapter 137 of the Municipal Code of the City of Mishawaka, Indiana, is from time to time amended, commonly known as the Zoning Ordinance of 1966 of the City of Mishawaka, Indiana. This is to rezone C1 General Commercial to R1 Single Family Residential, 303 West 6th Street.
Proposed ordinance 2025-16 will be assigned to the Land Use Planning Committee.
Proposed ordinance number 2025-17, an ordinance amending Chapter 137 of the Municipal Code of the City of Mishawaka, Indiana, is from time to time amended, commonly known as the Zoning Ordinance of 1966 of the City of Mishawaka, Indiana. This is to rezone from I-1 Light Industrial to R1 Single Family Residential, 3418 York Street.
Proposed ordinance 2025-17 will be assigned to the Land Use Planning Committee.
Proposed ordinance number 2025-18, an ordinance amending Chapter 137 of the Municipal Code of the City of Mishawaka, Indiana, as from time to time amended, commonly known as the zoning ordinance of 1966 of the City of Mishawaka, Indiana. This is PUD amendment to allow for reduction in landscaping, building, and pavement setbacks and planting area widths northwest corner of Cleveland and Capitol.
Proposed ordinance 2025-18 will be assigned to the Land Use Planning Committee. This evening, we have no resolution, so we'll move into ordinances on second reading.
Proposed ordinance number 2025-12, an ordinance of the Common Council of the City of Mishawaka authorizing special utility service contracts for economic development and customized utility needs, and the petitioner is requesting an amendment.
Thank you. At this time, the chair would entertain a motion to amend proposed ordinance 2025-12 pursuant to a hard copy of the proposed amendment that was distributed to the council prior to this evening's meeting.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. A motion has been made and seconded to amend proposed ordinance 2025-12 at the request of the administration pursuant to a amended copy of the proposed ordinance that has been distributed to the council. Any additional questions or comments from the council? And hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. The ordinance is amended as was proposed, and with that, may we have the committee report, please?
Thank you, Mr. President. To the members of the Common Council of the City of Mishawaka, your Committee on Budget and Finance, to whom was referred the matter of proposed ordinance number 2025-12, report that they have examined said matter and that, in their opinion, should be adopted. This is signed by the majority of the committee, and I move for its acceptance.
Second.
Thank you. A motion has been made and second to approve the committee report. Any additional questions or comments from the council? Then hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. And with that, we will move into second reading and public hearing on proposed ordinance 2025-12 as amended. Anyone wishing to speak in favor, if you would, please come forward to the podium.
President Hicksonbaugh, honorable members of the Mishawaka Common Council, Matt Lynch, Executive Director of Development, Governmental Affairs, City of Mishawaka, 100 Lincoln Way West. I'm here tonight to request your consideration of the proposal of the Mishawaka Utilities Special Contract Ordinance. The ordinance has been carefully developed in response to the evolving needs and opportunities within our community, particularly in relation to our continued commitment to economic development, utility service, innovation, and long-term strategic partnerships. It is intended to provide the legal framework necessary for the City of Mishawaka through its municipal utilities to negotiate and enter into special utility service contracts under defined and controlled circumstances. The need for this ordinance stems from an increasing number of unique service requests in infrastructure projects that fall outside the parameters of our existing utility rate structures. Without this flexibility, we risk missing timely opportunities to support major developments and investments that can potentially and significantly benefit our community. By enabling these contracts with appropriate oversight within the bounds of existing law, we aim to remain competitive while safeguarding the public interest. Importantly, this ordinance also includes provisions to maintain transparency and council involvement. We have incorporated language to ensure that the council leadership is kept informed of any ongoing negotiations and when appropriate under the open door law. So the council throughout the process would be apprised of relevant details in advance, fostering a clear and consistent line of communication between the administration and council. I respectfully ask for your thoughtful consideration and support of this ordinance. I believe that it represents a balanced, forward-looking policy that protects public accountability while allowing our city the flexibility needed to adapt and grow in a changing economic environment. And with that, if you don't mind, I'd like to go over a couple of the changes.
Please do.
And first of all, I just want to say thank you. It's been a bit of a process a bit more lengthy and involved than we would normally have in writing an ordinance. Part of it is a complexity of some of the factors related to APRA and confidentiality. And we had, I think, we've had at least three attorneys or more weigh in on this, as well as some other folks that I've had look at this and as we've researched it. But I want to thank Council Attorney Mike Triple, Nikki Schultz, who is working with us on all things Mishawaka Utilities, and obviously you, President Hicksonbaugh. So thank you for weighing in. Now, I'm going to just quickly go over some of what the latest draft contains that weren't necessarily contained before. Now, the ordinance contains clear statutory citations and procedural guardrails defining what confidential information includes and how it must be labeled, stored, and reviewed. Secondly, explicitly references APRA compliance and integrates well-defined timelines for disclosures, post-negotiation, and available of public offers. It includes language confirming that while unit pricing, incentives, and projections may be confidential, the agreements themselves cannot result in ratepayer subsidization. It can't be subsidized. It's got to be, I can't talk. Which directly addresses transparency and fairness. Lastly, this latest draft provides a clear structure, strengthening the ordinance's credibility from a public governance standpoint. That just relates to treatment of confidentiality. It provides a bit more legal precision and intent, establishes a clear foundation in the cost of service study, and directly ties to it fairness, transparency, and the avoidance of cross-subsidization. We don't want anybody to think that a contract of this type would be done on the backs of ratepayers. It will not be. The revised draft firmly situates special contracts within a legal framework that protects the integrity of standard ratepayers while allowing flexibility for economic development, and uses more refined phrases such as no agreement shall result in Mishawaka Utilities ratepayers subsidizing or financially underwriting any portion of the agreement, which reflects a professional balance and legal defensible position. Finally, related to government communication of government oversight, the final ordinance formalizes the council's annual budget review and approval authority tied to specific timelines. And I think that was mentioned by not just Councilman Violi, but a few of you, to make sure that the council review and a special contract would really be in concert together, so that they wouldn't be out of sync, so to speak. Clearly conditions contract effectiveness on prior budget adoption, creating a strong system of checks and balances, and finally establishes an annual transparency report requirement detailing aggregate values and contract types, demonstrating accountability without breaching confidentiality. Finally, it's more precise in its legislative tone. It's grounded in statutory authority and clearly reflects regulatory awareness. It's balanced and defensible, respecting both transparency and business confidentiality, and well-structured, given the Common Council administration and ratepayers' confidence in oversight, fairness, and enforceability. I know that's a lot, but it truly, I mean, there was not just technical, this is probably the 7th or 8th draft, but I think there was a lot to do and to make sure that we covered everything that I discussed. So what questions do you have of me or Nikki Schultz, our attorney, who has worked with us on this and all things Mishawaka Utilities in the past several months?
Thank you, Mr. Lunch. Are there any questions from the council for Mr. Lunch? Mr. Viola?
Well, is Nikki on now, or?
Let's,
She
any
should be.
question for Mr. Lunch, and then we can have Nikki chime in
Gotcha.
virtually afterwards.
I'll get back to you on that. I'll get back to you.
Okay. Anything for Mr. Lunch?
I do have a
Mrs.
question.
Hazen?
So is this practice already being used by any other municipality-owned non-for-profit utilities?
It's being used by investor-owned, and as far as we've researched it, I can't say definitively, and maybe Nikki can, if it's owned by any other municipal utilities.
Okay, where are they at, the investor-owned ones?
I mean, they're through, investor-owned would be AEP,
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Duke Energy, and others. I can't say definitively, and sometimes it's hard to query that information and to find out definitively. So I cannot say definitively, but I think it's a practice definitely above that investor-owned utilities like AEP, Duke Energy, and others use. I can't say definitively that I could pinpoint a municipality that, but we think so. I just couldn't identify them.
The second question is, does Mishawaka Utilities already give discounted utility rates or utility infrastructure projects of any kind to businesses, organizations, people, citizens? Do we currently do this at all, other than the blah, blah, blah. See, now I'm doing it, than the structure, the rate structure that we have listed on our utility
Other
website?
than that,
No?
no.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, I looked at that, I saw that we
Right.
do that, so. So I feel the ordinance doesn't really currently spell out who would qualify for a special contract. So how are the perimeters set for that? Who would the person apply to? I mean,
They would apply to Mishawaka Utilities, and based upon whether or not this was passed this evening, we would put in some rules and establish a protocol for that. But, so it would, we would, if it was water or water-related, we would look at volumes, but we would put parameters in place, and we would work with Nikki Schultz to establish those parameters and put the rules in place and the guidelines to make sure that folks understand what are the things that we would consider. Some of the things may be outside of the box that would come up at negotiations. So this is honestly a new, something brand new to us, but not new to the industry. And we would model our rules or guidelines and how we would work with a company to work through the negotiations. A company may have very specific things related to volumes or other matters that they would like to discuss with us. But currently, we do not have the ability to negotiate special contracts. This would give us that, would allow for discussion and allow us to potentially negotiate, but it would be, as we talk about, fully confidential while it's being negotiated, but it would be open, because of APRA and everything that would be required, the council as well as the public would know of all the details when it comes before the council.
so at what point would the council be notified that Mishawaka Utilities is in negotiations for a special contract?
We would keep the council leadership engaged, and we would let them know that we were entering into discussion.
Okay.
But all of the information would be public before it would come to you for approval.
So we talk about this cost of service study. Do we have any idea what a cost would be of a cost of service study, or like the length of time it would take to do one?
We're doing a cost of service study right now with Baker Tilly.
Okay,
So what that really equates to is, we're not going to, we will not, as I stated, offer a special contract that is subsidized on the backs of ratepayers. So in order to know that definitively, we need to know the bottom line price of what it costs to provide electric, water, sewer, wastewater services. So that means that, we would not negotiate a price that would be below our absolute cost.
I had that question, thank you.
Yeah. And so but Baker Tilly has been asked to look at that across the board for that. But that is fundamental to how we would negotiate and what we would negotiate. Because we would not, as I said before, negotiate an agreement that would be below what it cost us.
Thank you. Other questions? Mr. Mamalante?
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, Mr. Lynch, for your presentation. Couple quick questions or points to clarify. So just in short, this is kind of a tool for the city of Mishawaka to have to attract or negotiate, have some negotiating power to perhaps attract a large business to locate here in Mishawaka. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, and is it only for new business, or is it for anybody that is currently established in the city limits that could come to you and apply for this?
So it would be an economic development tool. So if it'd be potentially a new business, it could be a business that is majorly expanding. But it would definitively be an economic development tool first and foremost.
And just to clarify, and I think I heard this correctly, but just for some folks that are listening, if business does come in, they negotiate a lower rate, that does not affect any of the ratepayers. We're not picking up the tab for that discount, correct?
That is correct.
Okay. Thank you.
Mr. Viola?
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, Mr. Lynch, for all your help. I know I've been emailing you, and you've made some corrections that I've asked you to do, and I appreciate that. Following up on what Mrs. Hazen was asking about that study, so it won't be an internal study, it will be in conjunction with the consultants like Baker Tilly?
Yes. No, it will not be an internal
Will
study.
not be an internal study.
In order to sort of be a little bit arm's length here, I think it's important for us to involve, not just any firm, but a firm that we've used in trust, Baker Tilly, and they're well informed about our operations, and they're a natural one, and they've agreed to be a part of this and to do that study for us.
And just to clarify, it's not just rate discounts, it's infrastructure help also?
It could be.
Whereas in the past, maybe the city itself would have to handle the infrastructure costs to entice economic development. So now the utilities, Mishawaka MU is going to.
I mean, that could be one of the things.
Maybe do some infrastructure.
That would be one of the things
Yeah.
that utilities could enter into negotiations
Okay,
related
right.
to.
That's it, right. And it's like you've said, and I think it's pretty well laid out, it's going to be a step-by-step. We're going to know about it, we're going to have time to look at the information, we're not going to have to vote on it quickly. It's going to go to the utility board first for their approval, which then will come to the council, and then we'll review it, and then we vote on, it has to be voted on by the council before anything takes effect.
Yeah, and before that, everything has to be, if it comes to the council or utility board, it would have to be an open door. All the information would
It's
have
already
to be
going to be
spelled
out there.
out.
The
Yes.
information's already going to be out there.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Other questions? Then, Mr. Lynch, let me add my thanks before I jump in with a couple questions for the work that you've done on this. Most people would say that it's not fun to work with one lawyer, let alone three lawyers on any given topic, so I appreciate your patience with all three of us. Let's step back a minute and talk about the overall goal of this ordinance. As this concept has been introduced to us, this appears to me to be, when we talk about economic development, it really, in my mind, becomes an opportunity for new revenue to be identified for the community and for your utility departments, correct?
Yes, definitely.
And am I wrong to think that particularly when we have a new user of significant scale, however you want to define significant, as those new revenue sources start to flow into the community and into our utility budgets, does that not have a positive impact on our current payers, with regard to maintaining stable utility rates for all of us in Mishawaka?
Definitely. This is one of those things that, as they say, the high tide sails all ships. This should help everybody across the board.
And then to follow up on the well-taken question that Mrs. Hazen posed about the cost of service studies. I heard what you said, that Baker Tilly is going to do that cost of service study and is engaged in one right now. And isn't it the case that any time that we have raised our utility rates in any of our departments, there has always been a cost of service study, so that we're not just picking a number out of the sky, but it has to match up with the actual hard costs of the service that we deliver, correct?
Yes.
But even though those general studies are done, go back to the days when we were under the regulation of the state, but even though those general studies are done, there will always be an individualized analysis of any of these contracts that are recommended to us by the administration that ties that general analysis to the specifics of that special contract, so that we have certitude that no special contract is going to be funded on the back of our ratepayers, correct?
Yes.
As we've talked, I and others, I am confident, have expressed to you the same thing as I. The concept of the confidentiality is somewhat daunting to an elected official, as we all are, who are used to dealing in a very public setting with full transparency and information. But going back to the verbiage from this proposed ordinance that you read, it's during the negotiation stage, which is always a delicate balance and needs to be handled very delicately. It's only during the negotiation stage that confidentiality will be maintained, correct?
Correct.
And it's when that negotiation concludes, an agreement is drafted, and it's submitted to the utility board for their approval and to the council for its approval, that entire agreement with all the details will be distilled in the document, so that council members, members of the public, whomever chooses to read through the information will have all the details relevant to any special contract.
Full disclosure.
And with regard to this ordinance, and again, its overall goal, this sets the stage for those negotiations, but does not in any way bind the council's hands to pre-approve any particular special contract.
That's right.
Is that your understanding as
Yeah,
well?
oh yeah. There couldn't be any pre-approval.
And at this point in time, none of us have seen one of these special contracts since we've never had it presented to us, so it's hard for us to project whether we're going to approve it or not, other than the fact that, of course, we have a long track record as a council of supporting high-quality economic development that makes sense for the community and benefits our taxpayers, and in this conversation, our ratepayers. But we haven't even, going back to your conversation with Mrs. Hazen, we haven't even put pen to paper on one of these contracts in the past, so this remains an evolving story.
It does. And as I mentioned before, we would work with Baker Tilly and obviously with Bose McKinney on establishing some guidelines, some draft guidelines, looking at what investor-owned and other utilities have done and some of the things. So we're going to do our homework more. I feel like we have gotten into the weeds far in terms of what this means and how to best, with not just best practices, but we need, from my vantage point, we need further guidelines and some rules going forward. Just how would a company address us or formally talk to us besides a phone call? How would that contact be made? What are some of the parameters? But I think we're going to have to be, as you said, somewhat open and willing to learn and investigate this.
And then, final question for me at least. Going back to the discussion that you had with Mrs. Hazen about those investor-owned utilities. It seems to me that we're in an ever more competitive market, at times in direct competition for economic development opportunities to become part of our community and to receive their utility services from Mishawaka Municipal Utilities. So I believe that another justification for this ordinance is that it allows us to stay competitive with regard to those private investor-owned utilities. There are always going to be differences between ourselves as a municipal utility and them, but this helps bridge the gap so that we can stay competitive for those economic development projects that will come down the road in the future that are in the best interest of the community. Is that?
Oh, that's true, and actually, more than ever, especially we've had 2 apartment complexes. One is senior development, one that is on Beacon Highway and Fur. But they want to know that we are competitive. It's very much it's harder in this environment because of a state law that was passed back in 2015 related to electric utility territories, but as folks come in, they want to know what are their options for water, for sewer, and for electric, and we will not stop. As you know me, we will not stop pushing the envelope and asking for cooperation from AEP or another investor-owned, or there's some competition even as we speak, related to other utilities, even privately owned. So this tool is, I think, going to be more important as we move forward.
Excellent. Thank you for the information and your patience with me as I peppered you with my questions, and once again for the work that you've done.
Oh, my pleasure. Thank you.
Any other questions for Mr. Lynch? Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else present in chambers this evening who wishes to speak in favor? If you would, please come forward to the podium. Then is there anyone participating remotely who wishes to speak in favor? Is there anyone with us this evening who wishes to speak in opposition? Please come forward. And is there anyone participating remotely who wishes to speak in opposition? Are there any council members who wish to speak? Mr. Viola, I believe you had
Is Nikki
a
on?
question for
Well, yeah.
outside counsel,
Yes, please, if she's on.
if she's on.
I'm on.
Right.
Good evening. Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay.
If you could start by identifying yourself for the record, please.
Yes, this is Nikki Schultz, SHOULTZ, of the law firm Bose, McKinney, and Evans, Indianapolis.
Thank you. Mr. Viola.
Thank you for joining us. Just to follow up on what Mr. Lynch just said and going back to what Mrs. Hazen asked before about this about other utilities, we discussed the investor-owned utilities having these type of powers or contract ability to negotiate these things. To your knowledge, are there any other municipalities in the state of Indiana that already have this type of ordinance to help them with economic development?
We did not do a research, and it would be fairly difficult without pouring through every single one of the 92 counties and then all of the municipalities within those. So I don't know, but like Mr. Lynch, I suspect that there are, but I do not have any to point you to.
So you haven't ever prepared anything like this before then?
I have not, no.
Okay, thank you. That's what I want to know. Thank you.
You're
Thank
welcome.
you, Ms. Violi. Any other questions for outside legal counsel with regard to this ordinance? I do have at least a couple. First of all, thank you for your work on this as well and your assistance with all things utilities, as Mr. Lynch has mentioned a couple times this evening. Did you have a chance to hear the questions that I and my colleagues posed to Mr. Lynch earlier in this public hearing?
I did.
And are there any clarifications or modifications to the information that was shared with us that you would like to make at this point in time?
I would just say there's no correction or modifications to any of the answers. I would really just emphasize everything that Mr. Lynch said, and I think particularly the very last question, the exchange about competing with investor-owned utilities and other providers. What we are seeing is that competition is really, in my 25-plus years, we are in the heightened state of competition. And so I agree with Mr. Lynch that this will be a good and valuable tool for the city of Mishawaka to seize economic development opportunities and to remain competitive. But aside from that, certainly nothing that he stated that was wrong or that needs to be clarified in my mind.
Well, that may be a first in the history of Mr. Lynch's appearance in front of us, but I appreciate that answer, Counselor. Any other questions for outside legal counsel with regard to the proposed ordinance? Then thank you again for the work that you have done on this and for all the work that you are doing on behalf of Mishawaka over and above.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Then we are back at the point where I will ask if there are any additional questions or comments from the council. I will just sum up by adding that, once again, I appreciate the work of all involved, including our council attorney, to take a look at this. I am absolutely comfortable with the legal authority for the council to pass this. And I do believe that the two big benefits in my mind are that, number one, it keeps Mishawaka competitive for those attractive economic development opportunities that are out there. And it benefits the community when we have those projects come in to generate revenue, not only for the civil city, but for our municipal utility. The other thing that's the big selling point with regard to my vote this evening for this ordinance is that this doesn't tie our hands. We're not bound to approve any specific agreement. As we talked about earlier, how could we, since we've never been presented with one? But this allows the opportunity to be presented to the administration for them to move forward when the time is right, under the parameters established in the ordinance, to enter into negotiations with developers and other entities who wish to locate themselves in Mishawaka and tap into our utility services. So allowing that opportunity for negotiation to play out makes great sense to me. But much as we have done with regard to tax abatement requests and other economic development related matters, I am confident that this council will be very judicious and thoughtful with regard to reviewing these special contracts, just like we have been with regard to tax abatement requests, where they make sense legally and in the best interest of the community. I think we'll be open to approving them. Where they do not, then I think that we will articulate that position as well. So again, thank you to everyone for the work that has gone into this, and I certainly will be supporting this evening. And with that, if there are no additional questions or comments from the council, I will call for the question.
Question.
Madam Clerk, would you please poll the council?
Mrs. Hazen?
No.
Mr. Benicki?
Yes.
Mr. Emmons?
Yes.
Mrs. Hahn? Yes. Mr. Mamalenti?
Yes.
Mr. Violi?
Yes.
Mr. Hicksonbaugh?
Yes.
The proposed ordinance passes 6-1.
Thank you. And with that, we will move into privilege of the floor. At this time, members of the public are invited to the podium to speak with respect to non-agenda items only under privilege of the floor.
Hello again, Council. Matt Lynch, City of Mishawaka, 100 Lincoln Way West. And I'm here tonight just to discuss a recent power outage that we had Saturday night going into Sunday morning. And I'm here to answer questions, to maybe clear up some misconceptions, and to talk about how we can, some of the things that we have in the works to make sure that, we're not just communicating, but people are better understanding about outages and when they happen and where to go for information. And to let you know that there are some things in the works that are going to help us not to articulate, but identify when those outages occur and the things that we have in the works that maybe are a couple years down the road that will help us from and I want to refer specifically to both potential website and app development. Our IT department is in the process of working on the potential development of a City of Mishawaka mobile app that will offer residents push notifications, outage information, and service request functionality. This is not nearly close to operational, but it's something that we're working at, something that I believe we could potentially use. But once operational, if we decide to go forward with this, will be a critical platform for future outage communication. We are also working on building a dedicated communication support team to ensure a deeper bench is available during future service disruptions. This team may include other trained folks like Phil Stokes who works with our Mishawaka Utilities, who works on our social media for Mishawaka Utilities. So we want to look at this and slice this as many ways as possible to make sure that our citizens, our ratepayers, are informed. Just to note that, something more specific that's happening that's probably a couple years out is outage management and future outlook. And I had about an hour conversation with Kevin Wasber, our manager of Mishawaka Utilities Electric. He says shortly after taking over as the electric division manager in May of 2021, it was clear to Kevin that our current analog outage management format was beyond the times and in a world that expects instant information at a click of the button or phone tap. So in February 2024, he and I received utility board approval to move forward with a $1.2 million automated metering infrastructure project. Due to the large cost of this project, we had to split this into several phases over a 3 to 4 year span. The first phase of the project was installed in 2024-2025 and turned out better than expected. Overall, once the project is completed in the year 2027, 2028, we will have the ability to identify the size of the outage areas and the total number of customers affected within minutes, if not seconds. We will also be able to share the outage information data visually to our ratepayers who want to know if they are affected. So this is something that's been in the works, something that we had talked about before. It's just a matter of the timing and the cost and spreading it over a period of time. This is really the evolution of smart metering. If we look at what we have currently, we're at the very the very beginning of smart metering. We are, as Mishawaka, the utilization of smart metering has really evolved to where investor-owned utilities have smart metering that they can, during brownout periods, or if they wanted to adjust or have consumers adjust, when they use their dishwasher or other things, they could actually go in and plug in, to use their thermostat maybe set it at 78 during the high peak times, and maybe decrease the temperature for use of air conditioning during low peak times, or for dishwashing or whatever. And utilities could have that same not opportunity, but I mean, there's a lot of things from where we are currently to the very smart, and we're saying that we think it's feasible and affordable to look at a couple steps up, not going crazy on this, because we could spend up to $5 to $10 million quickly on the smartest metering, but we don't feel like there would be the great benefit that we have by doing things like making sure that we don't have outages by preventive maintenance and by upgrading our grid. I think we can get a whole lot more for our money by focusing on improving our grid, upgrading as we are now from 4 kV to 12 kV, and making sure we're replacing some of the transformers that are at the end of their usefulness, or are coming upon that. So I think we have to be balanced in what we do, and instead of focusing on having all the bells and whistles, we need to take a very conservative approach, understand we're the city of Mishawaka, and we are a $90 million utility, but I would rather focus on making sure we don't have outages. And the frequency of that right now is not a lot. We had a storm in March of this year that was the biggest probably in 75 years or more. But in all of 2024, we had a total cumulative outage of 15 hours. And this year has been obviously outside of those bounds. But we want to make sure that we're continuing to do what we can to prevent those outages first and foremost, and then communicating them when they happen in the most effective way. So while I recognize that at times, and at 4:15 in the morning on a Sunday, when I got a call and had some failures in trying to get the information up on our website, we were able to get information up on our Mishawaka Utilities Facebook page. There's an article on WSPT, and we tried our best to make sure that you are informed. And that's, I think, an important thing to do, so that as you're informed, I will not call you at 4:15 in the morning. That's a promise. But we will text you, and we will ask for you to share that information, because people look at information and digest it in many different ways. There was an article, or there's a news story on WSBT during the morning yesterday, but there was 3 different posts on our Mishawaka Utilities Facebook page as well. We're going to try we want to make sure we inform the community and our ratepayers in every way possible, because people digest information differently. We just don't currently have the ability to say, your neighborhood has been affected. We don't. An investor-owned utility or others may have those smart meters, and we're getting there, but we don't have that at this point. And we have invested mightily in making sure we upgrade our infrastructure to make sure there aren't outages. And I think in the past years, the proof is the 15 hours or less of total outages that we've had. So I think I brag on our Mishawaka Utilities. They're a lean, mean group. All of our utilities do a fantastic job. But, the reports that I get out to you after every outage, if you look at them, they're usually less than an hour, and in more cases, less than 15 minutes. In this case, as I've explained, because of the complexity of this outage, and it was a new piece of equipment that we installed less than 6 months ago that had a major failure. And because of that, it took many steps on our part to find out what the problem was, and then correcting it, and then we had to involve AEP to help us re-energize a line. So it took over 5 hours, which was unusual. But we will do everything we can to make sure our grid is strong, our infrastructure is as strong as it can be to, first and foremost, ensure that we have very few outages. And those that we have, we want to minimize the time. But we do want to educate and inform our ratepayers as well. And we're going to do everything we can to continue with that.
Thank you. Any questions for Mr. Lunch? Mr. Violi?
Thank you, Mr. President. Aside from the actual outage, of course, that's always the biggest stress. It raises everybody's stress level. Is there something in the short term that you're going to tell us that maybe I know the reports came out, but they were a little slow. I was waiting to see some reports. Is there something we can do now to make sure maybe they get out a little quicker? People know that when there's an outage, they know they're going to be without power, but I think they just want to know, yeah, we're working on it. From just the things I heard were that they called and they weren't getting straight maybe it wasn't a straight answer. They were caught off guard. I think everybody was, like you said, maybe because it was so early in the morning. I'm sure that's part of it. But in the short term, do you have any plans to maybe get to the website earlier, our website, get to Facebook earlier on the utility Facebook page and say, hey, we're aware of it? Because as you know, as we spoke about this, that there was a lot, nobody knew anything. It seemed like there was a few hours, and I know we all want instant gratification. So in the short term, is there anything you think we can do better?
Well, outside of the timing, the time of this caused some issues. But within, I would say, 3 hours, there were information on our social media page. There was an article or information out on WSBT. But yeah, we would like to, and we have pretty much in every case, as in the big storm that happened on a Sunday night. I was here that Sunday night, and we had information out within an hour of that storm. We couldn't say definitively when things were going to be up because we were still evaluating it. I mean, as I wrote a script.
But that was from a storm, and we kind of knew why. Everybody knew why there was no power.
But there was still hundreds of calls related to that. But so we in every case, as we find out about outages, if it's not just business hours or throughout the day, I have my computer with me. We communicate that pretty much as we find out. It was the timing of this storm that made it more difficult, more challenging.
Well, that's something we probably can look at. I don't know, like you said in your notes, maybe.
But the other part is we have a 24-hour, 7-day-a-week call-in that calls after hours, and they take the calls, and I think we can do a little bit better.
There you go. Okay.
Working with them to make sure, but I think they were flooded with calls.
I'm sure.
And they weren't able to field them, and we were all seeking information that, again, we don't want to lead our customers and tell them that it's going to be an hour when it's not. We will not overpromise and underdeliver. We try to do the exact opposite.
I think that would be a great start, like you just said, with the call center, just making sure that they're updated a little quicker, and then they can relay whatever they know.
And part of it was, it took us 2 to 3 hours to really figure it out this time. So, and again, we do not have the smart meters that will tell us where things are out. It's calls coming in, and our people getting out into the community, finding out where things are as people go to the substations and to figure out where the problem is, and then how to fully assess it and figure out what the fix is going to be. And in this case, it involved part of the issues. It involved that re-energizing of a line, and it took us a couple hours to get AEP to come do that for us.
Right.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Mr. Mamalati?
Thank you, Mr. President. You'd mentioned that the disruption was caused by a piece of equipment that we had just recently installed. Is that correct?
Yes.
Have we been in contact with the manufacturer in terms of how that may have happened, or was it on the install side of things that caused the disruption?
We're trying to figure that out. We do not believe it was an install problem. We think it was an internal failure with a new 34.5 kV breaker at the 12th Street substation. The breaker, that particular breaker, was replaced earlier this year as part of the upgrade from 4 kV to 12 kV. Unfortunately, even new equipment can fail. And we do not know at this exact moment the cause of the failure. Just that the equipment had a massive internal failure causing all the city's south half transmission lines to de-energize. So we're going to get to the bottom of it. Obviously, the company will be responsible for getting us the replacement part.
Sure.
But as we know, in terms of lead times, it's going to take us a little bit. We had to re-energize the lines and feed it from another.
And I have no doubt that we'll get to the bottom of it. But
Oh,
I
we
guess
will.
the next question, follow-up question would be, have we installed any other breakers at any other substations with that same breaker?
I'm not going to, I will say, I don't know, because we don't know. I believe we have.
Okay.
I don't know if it's that part from that company, but I believe that we have. But we are really in just the beginning of upgrading our infrastructure from 4 kV to 12 kV, and it's almost done for 1 out of 7 of our substations.
And like I said, I have no doubt that once you guys identify the problem or the cause, that you guys will look at if that breaker was installed and fix that one as well prior to any outage or failure.
Yes, definitely.
Thank you.
Other questions for Mr. Lynch? Mr. Emmons?
Yeah, just a curiosity question. When you say a breaker, what does that breaker cost the city of Mishawaka?
I wish I had Kevin here with me tonight. I don't know, but I would say several thousand, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars. That particular breaker is part of our conversion, and I believe it was very expensive.
Okay, now, when we buy it from that manufacturer, is that guaranteed for any certain length of time?
Yes. Yes, and we're going to find out, and the manufacturer will probably be involved in doing some work to find out. This is a significant piece of our new infrastructure, and it should never have failed within the time frame. So we will be working with them to find out what happened and obviously getting it replaced as soon as possible.
At their cost, right?
At their cost, yes, sir.
Thank you.
Other questions for Mr. Lynch? And again, thank you. And please pass along our thanks to Mr. Wasmer and to our employees for the work that they did to get us back online as quickly as we can, as they were able to. I agree with what you said. I think that the stability of our grid, as well as our ability to repair those issues that arise from time to time beyond our control, more often than not, is second to none. And I appreciate your commitment to take a look at the communication piece, because I think it puts us in about the 100th percentile of all entities and organizations that communication is the easiest thing to do, yet most difficult at times. And I appreciate the information that you provided to us with regard to how this was communicated out. But I think that looking at those other means of communicating with our ratepayers and the public so that we can round out the ability of people to have real-time information, sometimes just the peace of mind that they experience from knowing that somebody is looking at it, even if they can't tell them exactly how long the outage is going to be out, I think is as critical as what the ultimate explanation is. And
Agreed.
at the risk of stating the obvious, we're in a 24/7 business to provide utilities, and I think that plus or minus, people ought to be able to receive the same type of communication at 3:50 a.m. as they receive at 3:50 p.m. So if you
Agreed.
would, please keep us updated with regard to what you're able to identify as additional means for us to be able to enhance our communication resources, and please let us know if there's anything that we can do to help.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Is there anyone else wishing to speak under privilege of the floor? Then is there anyone participating remotely who wishes to speak under privilege of the floor? Seeing and hearing no one, we'll move into unfinished business, of which there is none. New business. Is there any new business to come before the council? Mr. Panicki.
Thank you, Mr. President. I just want to thank my fellow council members, the city clerk and the clerk's office, and the administration for your prayers and condolences during my brother's passing 11 days ago. So just thank you all.
Thank you, and may he rest in peace.
Thank you.
Any other new business to come before the council? Then if not, a motion to adjourn would be in order.
Moved.
We are adjourned. Thank you, folks.